And then we'll get the other one going here. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome once again to the Meat and Potato Show, Conservative Talk and Awesome Rock. And I am your host, Christopher Mader. And the candidate interview series continues here on the show. We've been doing quite well, actually, this year for 2014, getting candidates in and getting prepared for our August 30th candidate symposium that's coming here in Worcester. And here's somebody that I might consider having call in if he's available on August 30th. He can definitely join the symposium. I think I might have even sent him an invite, but if not, I can easily correct that. He's running for U.S. Congress in Florida's 18th district. It covers Palm Beach, part of St. Lucia County. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But I met him through, obviously, through the social media, and I've gotten to know one of his campaign staffers, Leslie Buck, and I want to welcome Republican congressional candidate Nick Wukoson. How are you, sir?
Good, sir. How are you doing?
Very good. So you're still a law enforcement officer? Because I'm reading on your site here, it's you're in reserve. Why don't you tell us how you decided to run, and how did that work out as far as being a law enforcement officer? Did you have to retire or something like that? Tell us how that all started.
Well, I'm no longer an active police officer. Actually, I was a police officer on active duty over 10 years ago. So since I have held on to my certification and with the intent to really stay at a reserve level. I went back into the business world. I'm a small business owner. I help other small and mid-sized companies stay compliant, how to, when it comes to HR and payroll tax administration and workplace safety and so forth. So, but no, I didn't have to necessarily retire because I wasn't an active police officer. I just really can't put on the uniform or actually work for a department while running for Congress or being in Congress.
Ah, interesting. Now, is that a national law across the country, or is that something specific to Florida? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, well, I know you can't be an active duty police officer and serve in the state or federal legislature, so I can't verify the actual rules and laws. I know the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, it definitely tells you that you cannot do that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been over 10 years.
Yeah, and in your business, like you said, you do HR compliance and that kind of stuff. So yeah, you definitely want to be compliant as far as following the campaign rules. This is for sure. So you were saying off mic that the campaign's going well. You got a great endorsement here from Colonel Charles Wynn from the U.S. Army. I was reading the letter earlier. Again, tell us how are things going in the campaign? How are things progressing, and tell us about this endorsement that you got from the Colonel.
Sure. Let's tell you about the campaign overall. I mean, the campaign it's going phenomenal in the sense that we're one of 6 candidates in this primary. This is the district that Alan West just lost, so the folks might not be familiar with the area. It does come from Palm Beach County, Martin County, actually St. Lucie County. Those are the 2.5 counties we'll call it. It's a very large territory. And we're doing great because we have a very, very strong message. We're the only candidate stepping up and giving voters an opportunity to know how we're going to follow through what we offer. I mean, that's really important. We really take a step back and forget parties for a second, forget who's right, who's wrong, and all that finger pointing, and look at all these candidates that have run for all these years, and they always promise you big promises. They always tell you I'm going to repeal this, I'm going to cut that.
Yeah.
No one ever tells you how.
Right.
And on that premise, we're really excited because I'm stepping forward and I'm explaining to voters how. I'm telling them how I can hold them fiscally accountable. I'm explaining very clearly with specifics how I can restore transparency and how we the people will finally have a tool in place to hold big government accountable to us. Because as we talk tonight on the phone, there is no transparency. There is no information that we the people can use to hold government accountable to us. And that's not a Democratic thing or Republican thing. That's an all-government thing. That's the big government versus really the people when it comes down to it. So the message is strong. The plans are out there. I have plans built around helping our VA system and addressing wounded warrior initiatives and so forth. So there's a lot of things out there. If you go on my website at pickmake2014.com, you see I'm the candidate that actually shares all his views on all the issues.
Sure.
So I'm a firm believer that you can never really stand with somebody unless you know what they stand for.
I've got your site right here. Yeah, got it.
My opponent's website, it's the exact opposite. So the announced that he would endorse me for this race just recently. It was and it still is a very honorable and humbling experience to have someone, so noble and sent you actually endorse us. So that definitely is a big, big plus for us. We also have Tea Party community endorsements, one of the largest national level Tea Party groups out there. 150,000 members online, 30,000 members off, lobbying presence in Washington. The Conservative Party in Florida has even stepped over the line and endorsed me as well because they believe in the fiscal, limited government, plans and ideas and passion that's in our campaign. So we're definitely doing the right thing for all the right reasons, and we're excited to see how this bill works out in just now over a month.
Sure.
We're up against some establishment candidates who are trying to buy their way into Washington, and we're trying to earn our way into Washington. So we'll see how it goes.
Debates and everything. Have you been in a few debates, and how did all of that go?
Yeah, well, we would, not a real official debate, like we used to see in the presidential elections, but something similar. We have a lot of forums. We've had, more than half a dozen forums over the last 4 or 5 months. And, I'll be real honest with you. I'm a Christian, I'm a dad, I'm a business owner, former cop. That's who I am first and foremost. I'll never be a politician. I'm definitely not a former attorney or attorney who we have invested in Washington. But I say that first because I sit in these forums, and half of my opponents are that. They're politicians, they're attorneys.
Right.
But going into this, I really thought I'd be up against opponents with big plans and solid ideas. And it's scary. I'll be honest, it's very scary and honest to be in this position to run for such a very important seat, and to look to my left and right at these forums and listen to opponents really give you nothing. And they never really answer the questions. They really have no plans or ideas. And you stop and you think to yourself, you're thinking, is this how it is all around the country? Are these the type of people that we're putting in Washington to represent us? And I pray that that's not the case, but the way Congress is running today...
No, that is the case.
It probably is.
That is the case. I'm sorry to burst your bubble there, but yeah, it is. That's essentially the case. I mean, some of the candidates that I've had just this last year, they've been pushed out of debates. They're not invited to debates. They're not seen as viable candidates. In many situations, the established party, and it's both parties, either the GOP or the Democrats, it's like they've already picked their favorite, golden-haired child, and that's the one that they push through. That's the one that they support, give all the fundraising money to. Even the media jumps into. Have you run into any of that where, establishment GOP down there is quietly saying, well, we've already picked this guy over here, so are you running into any of that?
A little bit. I mean, the GOP, the RTC, they really haven't jumped in this. There's really no one donating, contributing. I mean, the so-called self-proclaimed front-runner in this race only raised $25,000 last quarter. So it's actually very scary to see. There's one child, that self-proclaimed front-runner. It's because he's worth, roughly $30 million personally. And again, as an American, as a voter first, I can tell you that it's also scary to look at the press and look at folks out there and say, front-runner, Carl Domino's is name. Why would you call someone a front-runner? We get so used to calling them front-runners because that's how much money they have in their pocket.
Right.
But the last time I checked, how much money has someone how much money someone has in her pocket has zero to do with the job in Washington.
Absolutely.
If you look at it, there's two sides of this coin. There's campaigning, and then there's the job on the other side. And people have gotten so great at campaigning. They're phenomenal. They have their networks. They say what they got to say. And of course, never give you plans that have a fall through what they promise. But they're great at campaigning. Meanwhile, they get elected to go to Washington, and they're horrible in Washington. They don't have no plan to do anything. So, of course, they're going to run with the establishment and do whatever the establishment tells them to do. What we the people need is someone to stand up and say, this is how I'm going to swim against the current of the establishment. This is how I'm going to bring real change, and these are the specifics and how I'm going to fall through what I promised. So, we're definitely running it up against some of these grown boys and self-proclaimed front-runners. But we're going to do what we can do. We're standing up and doing, delivering the right message, and hopefully we prevail.
Yeah, and it sounds like some of the stuff that I've been reading about sounds like, you're gaining traction and people are listening to what you have to say. And I want to speak about something that you have to say. It's called the American Hero Bill of 2015, and this is something that Nick is looking to propose. We'll get some more information out of him. Let me introduce this here for you. The purpose is to provide an improved level of care for our brave men and women who defend and fight for our liberty, to improve the healthcare conditions and processes within the Veterans Affairs Department, and to ensure that all our nation's heroes are treated with the utmost respect, the best quality of care, job and career training, and an opportunity to contribute and find success in civilian life. And Nick, I'm a 50-year-old man. Ever since I was a kid watching the troops come home from Vietnam, this whole VA thing, it's so badly run ever since I was a child, and things have not improved at all. So talk to us about the bill and talk to us about why you came up with this idea.
Well, I think as a nation we all see the need for such an idea. And as you just pointed out, it's really just not really operating well. The process and the procedures within the VA aren't really working out. It doesn't mean there's not a lot of great men and women working for the VA, but it means that the process is broken. And of course, like in any profession in this world, of course there's some folks that belong there as well, but it's addressing the process, how to work efficiently, how to work smart, and not work harder, and how to prioritize, patient care and so forth. I mean, the VA was originally created around combat wounded veterans. And while I still support all great men and women in the military having such benefits and so forth throughout their life, I think we need to go back to addressing and making sure that combat wounded veterans are a priority. And that needs to be addressed. And again, we can still address everybody else. Why not open it up more to the private market? With the private market, in this case, private facilities and hospitals can still build a VA. But what it does is it's working smart to allow our great men and women to have access to health care, being in a private facility or a VA facility. And that's just common sense. And why we're not practicing common sense there as well as Washington is beyond me. So that's a lot of what my bill addresses.
Right, and one of the things, I was just looking at that, you have the 2030 and Plan B rule where, you shouldn't have to drive any more than 20 miles from wherever the particular resident lives to get this quality health care. And as you say in the bill here, that if the facility is outside the 20 or 30 mile area, then the person should be able to just go to a hospital and still be able to be covered under the same VA benefits. It seems like I didn't know that you have to go to a VA facility if you're a veteran. I thought maybe you could just go to your hospital and say, well, I'm a veteran and I'm covered by this. But that's not the case. Am I correct?
That's really not the case. I mean, they have there are still limits on mileage, and a lot of it's on 40 miles. The thing about that 30 miles, especially in South Florida where I live right now, I live in North Palm Beach County. 30 miles gets you all the way well into Broward County, if not South Broward County. And 30 miles down here going from North Palm Beach into Broward County feels like you're going to another country sometimes. Because there's a lot of traffic, a lot of lights, and a lot of traffic jams. So at 40 miles in my area is much more difficult to navigate versus say 30 miles in a rural area. So there are differences. The 2030 rule, as you expressed, it makes it a little more simpler. It makes it a little more feasible.
Sure.
20 miles for general care and so forth, 30 miles for specialty care, so forth. It just sets a standard. It draws accountability. It draws that line in the sand that says, here are the rules, here are the policies, here's how we can work smart, and that's what the rule's all about.
Exactly. And you have a little thing here about Hobby Lobby, and what are you hearing down there as far as your constituents? What are they saying about this decision?
Well, Hobby Lobby is a situation in which you can understand both sides of the argument. I'm very appreciative of the situation and how these owners weren't forced to, really cut to the chase. What I'm thinking as a nation in this speed right now is really about big government overreaching and forcing, both individuals and businesses to do something that they really don't have the right to be doing.
And here's the thing.
And Hobby Lobby is an example of it.
Yeah, here's the thing. I love the way the press and protesters, they immediately jump on that war on women bandwagon, and what they fail to realize is the basic unconstitutionality of this entire thing. First of all, government has absolutely no business to tell a person, let alone a business, how to either provide health care or not provide health care, and the particulars within it. Of course, we all know that these laws and rules exist anyway, but nobody seems to understand the basic the unconstitutionality of a decision like this, do they?
Well, of course not. And really, both sides of the aisle are really good in Washington. I mean, both major parties have kind of, learned to overstep their constitutional job description, right? That's just kind of what it is. I mean, I don't think they understand how to protect and respect their job description within what the Constitution tells them to do. So, they're overstepping it, and I'm very passionate about bringing big government back down the side. But the key here is not just pointing fingers and saying, look what they're doing, look how they're overstepping, because we have enough of those folks in Washington right now that are both using that finger pointing as a headline to really help their personal agenda, maybe run for president one day, or to help their party and so forth. What we don't have, or we have very few of, are people that turn around and say, well, here's a better idea. Here's how we can do it better. Here's how we can better serve this problem, being in healthcare, being in education, you name it. But we have a lot of finger pointers in Washington right now, and they're pointing fingers back and forth to each other. Meanwhile, Trump's government is growing way out of control, and it's time that we bring somebody to Washington like myself who can bring common sense, who can bring transparency and accountability, who can hold everybody accountable to their job description as well as the tax dollars we give them. Because right now, they're not holding themselves accountable. So we need somebody else, we need a true outsider, someone with a plan like myself who can do that, who's willing to do it, who has the passion of doing it, who is brave enough to stand up in front of everybody and say, you're wrong, this is why you're wrong, this is how we can do it better.
Excellent, excellent. And one of the things that I've been covering on the show, and I'm associated with some other people who pay attention to this issue that's going on, is the militarization of law enforcement across America. And you're a law enforcement officer, and so you probably have some years behind you in that experience, and you've probably seen it. You've probably seen from when your early days when you first joined the force to where you are now, to the point where, I mean, you guys have tactical gear now. You guys have MRAPs, armored vehicles. As a law enforcement officer, how do you feel about this? What is it? What is it used for? Why is it so necessary?
Well, I'm really fair with this. I mean, there are situations in which, folks behind the badge are wrong. One of the things I say in the same thing all the time is from both sides of the badge to both sides of the aisle, I'm going to hold you accountable if you overstep your boundaries. And I'm passionate about that. Behind the badge, there's a lot of things that are done wrong. There are folks who don't deserve to be behind that badge. There are folks who behind that badge who abuse their powers and so forth. So, you see these videos and pictures and so forth all the time online and on TV. It depends. Some situations that I look at and think, oh, that's horrible. Those officers should never approach it that way. And then there's some situations, be really fair. I know a lot of folks are very upset with what you said and what's going on. Sometimes I see a video, but that was pretty standard takedown for officer safety. But you can make, like a good reporter said, they can cut a video and cut someone's interview into pieces to make it look a little different, really what it is. And so there are some situations I look at that I think are a little unfair to the officer, but as well, like when I began, there are some situations that are very fair and officer was overstepping their bounds. So
Sure.
It's a situational thing, from situation to situation. Now, when it comes to like armored vehicles and so forth that you see, but I've mixed emotions on that. I know that a lot of military vehicles and so forth that are no longer in service come at a lot cheaper of a price for some of our law enforcement here locally. Are they always necessary? No. But it may be a good opportunity to have a vehicle to use for the SWAT, just in case they do have to go and see some type of crackdown. Absolutely. Is it armored, safe, and so forth, and protection of officers? Yes. Does it look like there's 18 vehicles put together and then Mr. T goes, sure, it looks pretty scary. But it's not always as scary as it looks. So again, it's a situational thing. I'm not against some of these SWAT teams and so forth getting vehicles. But do we need them everywhere? It's how we use them, right? That's how everything applies in life.
Sure.
Having it's one thing, but how and why are you going to use it? That's really the critical question.
And you remember, you were down in Florida, of course. I was here in Massachusetts during the Boston Marathon bombing, and in Watertown, it was frightening. And I mean, we quite literally saw the military, or a military-style law enforcement deployed to the street, martial law, people giving up their rights, letting them to just search their houses. People were arrested on the street just for going out to go get a pack of cigarettes. There was one guy who was quite literally, I'm on my way to get a pack of cigarettes. They attacked him, they tackled him, and I understand they didn't know the situation that was going on, but it was frightening. And I'm just concerned that When's the next time? What's going to happen the next time? And I mean, how can we get law enforcement to understand that they don't need to do this sometimes? That if you're looking for a criminal, you're looking for a suspect. You have to look for the suspect. You just can't invade the city streets like they did in Watertown. Um,
Sure.
I,
Not everything law enforcement does, civilians are going to understand right away. Again, it's so situational. I mean, why, as an example, an officer might see someone down to the ground. You don't know. It might be for their own safety, as harsh as it looks. However, really the bottom line here is there's more training, more education, more situational training.
Sure.
And again, we need to find ways to put, more qualified men and women behind the badge. We need to improve the training. We need to, situational is a great thing to do, especially now that we have more of these larger scale events like the stall, up there. So you're never going to have it perfect every time. You're never going to be able to do everything right. As an officer, I can tell you that, everyone, is going to turn it back on you and disrespect you until they need you. So there really are two sides of this coin. As long as you're upholding the law, you're honoring, due process. I'm very, 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 very passionate about making sure due process is followed in all situations. So, that's something very personal to me. And so no matter what side of the badge you're on, I'm going to hold you accountable and make sure that due process is followed.
Excellent, excellent. I like that. Good idea. Very good. Hey, listen. The invasion from our southern border here of children and other so-called I'm just going to say it. They're illegals. They're just here illegally. I don't know any nicer way to put it. What's going on in Florida on your end? Are there planes or buses showing up there with some of these people? Because I can't find any. So I figured since I have you here on the radio show, I might as well ask you what you know.
More so about the overall immigration?
Are some of these illegals showing up? The amount of illegals that have just come across the border that are being housed in some of these.
Not really. I mean, I have a lot of buddies in the Orlando area, the Lakeland area, which is more of the center of the state. I do get a lot of pictures sent to me. When they happen to be sitting, somewhere at a stoplight, they see the buses unloading and loading.
Mm-hmm.
So they're definitely seen. I haven't really seen much in South Florida, but it's really good. There's some jets down here that sometimes you really don't know who you're looking at. So I definitely have not personally seen these buses to and from. I think a lot of them are in some of these smaller communities, like in Lakeland, in Polk County, and so forth, and Ocala. I really believe a lot of them go to these type of areas.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's nice to know that, because I know some are landing here in Boston. That's for sure. There's all sorts of protesting going on, and I guess there's some thing going around that the federal government is going to crack down on the protesters, arrest them all. Again, this brings us back to upholding your oath. When you take that constitutional oath, we're Americans. We have every right to protest. We have every right to do that, and you can't stop us from doing it. And it's refreshing to know that somebody like yourself, a law enforcement officer, is going to point to these guys and say, you took an oath, and you've got to stand by this oath. And speaking of standing by the oath and not standing by the oath, a lot of these guys that are in Washington, there's a criminal element by not doing what is right by the Constitution, what is right by the American people. We can look at Eric Holder, we can look at Lois Lerner. There's several more. I mean, look at what Harry Reid has done also. There's a criminal element there. How do you feel about moving forward to possibly prosecuting some of these people after the elections, after 2014, maybe after 2016? Because I know for a fact they're not all going to be reelected. The writing is on the wall for these guys. But at some point in time, the piper's going to have to be paid here. And how do you feel about that?
Well, and I agree with you. The piper has to be paid. You hear me talk about accountability all the time, and it doesn't stop just from system level either. Even though I believe the way to really stop a lot of the abuse in Washington is through fiscal measures. I believe when you cut off their special interest, you cut off, their funding and the abusive angles that are sold through these tax, I believe you actually stop a lot of our problems. Now, when it comes to laws and the constitutional laws and actual criminal laws that a lot of these folks are violating, without a doubt, we have to hold them accountable. We have to step up and prove. There's the due process part of it. Let's prove it. Let's beyond a shadow of a doubt. Let's prove that this is what they've done. This is what they've admitted.
Sure.
And hold them accountable to it. I mean, there's no leeway congressman or head of the state or whatever your title is, I mean, you're subject to the laws, period.
Right.
And if you cross that law, I'm going to hold you accountable, and I'll be that congressman standing up there leading that charge, too. And I don't care what I give you the President of the United States. You violate your oath, you violate your charge, or the law, I'll be the first one standing there holding you accountable.
That's great. That's incredible. And here, I've interviewed so many candidates over, just not this year, but in 2012, 2010. All of you guys have great ideas. And you're not afraid to speak out, like you just said. You're gonna you just spelled it right out to everybody for everybody to hear. We don't hear that in Washington. Everything is so tightly controlled. Everything is, they don't want to anger this constituency, whereas they're perfectly happy to upset another constituency only because the other constituency has absolutely nothing to do with them, and it's getting frustrating. It's getting frustrating, and I think for the first time that I can remember, Americans are, they're not looking at party anymore. They're looking at persons, and they say, look, both sides are just as guilty of wrongdoing. Both sides are just as guilty of basically siphoning the money out of my wallet. And so I think for the first time, people are going to be listening to, message-oriented people like yourself, and it's very refreshing to hear that. Let's. I want to move on to one more thing here. Common Core is Common Core being implemented down in Florida already? You do have a section in here on one of your sites, and what you mentioned historically, the control and management of education in our great nation must return to the pre-LBJ and Carter days, and back to the state and to the community levels. So, what's going on with Common Core heading up in Florida? Is it down there? What's going on?
It isn't. That's a pretty way to answer that, because the state directly has not approved a lot of Common Core in the state. They kind of opened it to side saying we'll come up with another idea, but that idea has really been laid out and approved and voted on. So it's kind of been in like that limbo stage, for better use of words. However, some of these counties have decided to just stop waiting on the state and kind of initiate themselves. So county by county, you might hear about some, friends and family members of kids in Orange County and Florida, the Orlando area, and it says Common Core on their tests when they're taking them. When you go to the next county, it's completely the opposite. So it's really not consistent right now in Florida. But if you go to the bookstore, like I was hoping, like at the end of the school year, I wanted to help my son, who's 9 years old, prepare for work for the FCAT down here. I couldn't find anything, but there's 17 books and/or index card type of material products all in Common Core. So
wow.
It's really mixed up. It's really, I'm very upset with the whole Common Core process. And this is why. Why it's called the state standard, it has nothing to do with the state standard. It's not about states coming together and trying to just improve education like some folks like Jeff Bush himself that's claimed that that's what it's all about. It's not.
No.
What this is big business and big government joining forces to initiate a universal standard across the board, from North Dakota to Miami to New York, San Diego, all over the place. A standard that just doesn't work. Not only should you not have one standard, all over the country, but if you actually look at the questions and actually look at the material themselves, you see a couple things. One, you see why all these big companies are throwing $1 million here, $1 million there, or the Gates Foundation is throwing over $160 million into it. You see why? Because they're marketing. They're literally marketing to our kids and shining great light on their products and their services within the question. It's a marketing tool for them. So the return on investment for them. But the government, of course, is now having this one universal standard. I mean, the government's secret key is that universalizing everything. And then we get some middle class, and what it does, it creates the most powerful word in the world. And that word is dependency.
Yeah.
When you can have a population dependent on government, you have full control. Some governments force it, some governments kill their people, some governments starve the people, but that is the secret magical word, true power, is dependency. So this is just one of those steps. But real quick back to these questions, I was in a room a couple years ago. I'm not parent, but they're very involved in his kids' education and so forth. I go to the SAC board meetings, and I'm that guy that's sitting there, and usually the only dad, but I have no problem with that. But when I'm sitting there, and this couple years ago, they put up this paragraph questions on the projector screen in front of us. There's probably about 20 or 25 of us in a room, half teachers, principals, school board members, and some parents. And they put a question on the screen. Not one person in the room can answer it. Not one person. It was a third grade question.
It's amazing.
And that should tell you everything you need to know about Common Core. It's the sharing, the return to the stores from the other states, and like I said, in New York to all the other states conducted it now. The stores are pathetic. They're scary. It's not improving. It's actually, it really is destroying education. It's destroying the confidence of these kids. And really, at the end of the day, they're using this generation of school kids as guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Because they took government fault in education before, like Sam Sawyer did the SNAT. The government messed it up already for a handful of years, so the answer is more government?
Yeah, really.
So we need to bring it back to the states. We need to bring it back to the communities. We need to allow, that's my view on a lot of issues, a lot of things. But education is definitely one of the first things. You go to Washington, you don't see where you $7 going for education. Drive up and down the block after block after block of ivory and granite tower type buildings, and all these BMWs and Mercedes pulling out of the Department of Education parking garages. You'll quickly see where your money's going.
Exactly. 40% of all allocated money just goes to run the bureaucracy. 40% of it, right off the top. Right off the top, 40% goes to just run the Department of Education. Then there's another, anywhere from 15 to 20% is lost, abused, fraud, waste. So you're only getting a fraction of the money. And the whole idea is always, we need to get more money, we need to get more money. And the budget, everybody knows that the budget increases a 2%. There's an automatic 2% increase for everybody's budget across the board. And these things have got in. Which brings me to probably my final point here. I know you're a busy guy here. I mean, our debt and the money, we're out of it. And $17 trillion and counting. And what's your idea? What do you want to do about that?
Sure. Well, it definitely doesn't turn around on a dime. That's not going to be completely fixed overnight. But I am the only person, only candidate, I'm the only American being in office right now or running for office who's standing up, who's calling out the lack of transparency when it comes to program assessments. Basically, for all of us out there, it's just telling us how efficient and effective our programs are with our hard-earned tax dollars. The ethics of the program assessment rating tool under the Bush administration, which was kind of a complicated read, but at the end of the day, it still gave us a little bit of transparency. When President Obama took office, he completely killed that program, even though he kind of ran on it.
Yeah.
And to this day, not one program assessment has been made public to the people, not one. And that is the ultimate form of transparency. It doesn't seem some good transparency awards, mind you, but it definitely took away from transparency because the more we know, knowledge is the tool that we need to hold government accountable. So I'm here on this hard to answer your question first because my accountability 101 plan is what's called. It brings back this transparency of program assessments, but it does it in a very simple, easy to follow format that we people can use every year to understand how our money is being spent. That tells us who touches it, how we spend it, discretionary, not discretionary, with the earmarks, etc. Where did it go? What program received our hard-earned tax dollars? Under what conditions did they receive those hard-earned tax dollars? That's their mission statement. What are the goals for the say $10 million that we give them? And it holds that government accountable, that program accountable to being efficient to a certain standard. It also ties in any and all the special interest group behind that program, as well as the members of Congress who might be spending that money. So it just connects dots, and it tells us who's abusing that money, and who's wasting it, and who's not spending it wisely. It tells us that that is accountable. Someone investing their money to put into the stock market. We want to make sure we have a decent return. Why don't we hold that same standard of Washington?
Exactly.
So what my plan does is...
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Unbelievable. You're right. Thank you. I mean, and here's again, people, prudent, intelligent people like yourself, me, my guests that have been on the show here. It's always the same thing. You wouldn't do business with a company that wasted your money or wasted your time or treated you like crap. You wouldn't deal with that person. Same thing with the stock market. If you're losing money, you're trading on the floor. You get your money out and you call it a day. But here in government, it's like SOP. It's standard operating procedure. It's like if you throw $10 in, you're going to be lucky to get 50 cents back out of the thing, and they'll call that helping you out. It's unbelievable. So Nick.
That's really scary. There's something that you just said that that's really scary. My plan does is it basically says if you don't 80%, this one means cut. Now, what does this mean in hard dollars? In 2007, the last non-presidential year that we had that PARP program that I mentioned, my plan, if it's in place in 2007, would have saved over $806 billion of current cash funds paid into the system in 2007. And now these aren't just year one, we had that first year to get this program off the ground. These are programs that fail year after year after year. These programs simply weren't designed to be successful. Reverse engineer, you can quickly see the abuse of special interest behind this money. They're really wasting our money. Now, what can we do with $806 billion extra in 2008? We could have balanced our budget. We could have paid down our debt in a major way. And we could have returned a lot of that money back to the states. And, more importantly, we could have afforded the opportunity to cut corporate taxes.
That's right.
Think about that incentive. Think about that big fat carrot of instead of dangling in front of the domestic manufacturers to produce more and hire more in the United States. Yeah. So this is common sense 101. This is business 101. And it's time to get somebody to stand up and call everybody out and bring this common sense to Washington so we can turn this crazy runaway train around. That's what I'm about.
I like it. I like it. So what's next for you? Where's your next event? You're giving a campaign speech somewhere? What's on the road? Down the road.
Yeah, well, what's happening is right now there's some funding. Like I mentioned earlier in this interview, I mean, it's very hard to come by. I mean, we're really looking at a point right now where really just about $30,000 to think about it. It's really not much for a congressional seat. That's how short we are right now. We're the only campaign not running a deficit. We're not running ourselves the money. There's no smoke screen here with the money trying to impress people. But, we're at a point now trying to do some fundraisers, and $20 here, $50 there is definitely a big help for us. And, there's a lot of speaking engagements, there's forums, there's media run voters coming up. There's a lot of things going on. But if you go to my website at picnic2013.com, you'll both see what we're doing and what we're all about and read more about what I'm talking about.
Yes, the site is great. I think it's great. I love the site. I love it when all you guys do put up the websites, and especially somebody like you who has multiple pages on it, and you just spell out all your policies. I've gone through everything through here, and I want to get you back on the show again. Probably. When's the primary? When's your primary down there?
August 26th.
25th.
26.
26.
Right.
Yep, if you're not busy, I'll send Leslie the information and stuff. I'd like to get you back on before then, and if you got nothing to do August 30th, I'm gonna have you call into the symposium because I'm setting up like a conference call type setup. I got a guy calling from Texas. I'm trying to get somebody from Oregon that's been on the show. He's rather busy right now, and I'm gonna talk to Leslie and see if we can get that all arranged. So Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks for calling in. Good luck. We'll get in touch with you, get you back on the show, and I'll put all your stuff, your campaign site. I'll put it all up on the video, put it up on my page, the Meat and Potatoes page, and thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, you enjoy the night, sir.